Are you just trying to live, laugh, or love? Or are you just trying to do all of the above? This is the podcast for you. If you're an aspiring comic, a headlining comic, a class clown, or just an average bro or doe looking for a good time, you, my friend, are in the right place. Welcome to the magical world of just trying to podcast. Here we go. Welcome, triers, doers, and everything in betweeners. This is Just Trying to Podcast with your host, Mike Tony Heath. But this week we are talking all about just trying to level up. Here's what we're gonna be doing. So, what is leveling up? Leveling up is just getting better. Sorry, I mispronounced some words. I'm from Missouri. It's just what we do. Whether it's comedy, taxes, cycling, whatever it is, leveling up, getting a little bit better at what you're doing. So we're going to talk about some tips and tricks on comedy that I believe can probably be translated to whatever you do. Whether it's comedy, taxes, whatever it is, surfing, making boots. I think leveling up, these tips can probably help you. Don't worry, they're not my tips though. They're from actual successful comedians. Before we get into leveling up, tips and tricks on getting better at what you do, we have comments from you, listener. We love hearing comments from our listeners. This is a quick update. We have listeners in 4 states in the United States: Washington, Missouri, Indiana, and Illinois. But we also have listeners on 2 continents now. We have at least 1 listener in the country of France. I appreciate you. Bonjour. Oui, oui. But this comment is actually from the great state of Missouri in Columbia, Missouri. M-I-Z. You guys say C-O-U. Disappointing week in Mizzou basketball, at least on the guys' side. We lost number 4 Alabama. Not a good game. Anyways, Zach Becker's comment all the way from Columbia, Missouri says, I think he's making a joke on all of my in episode 2 of Just Trying to Podcast. And he goes on to say, it got better in episodes 3 and 4. Keep up the good work, Mike. We love listening. Thank you so much, Zach. We appreciate criticism here. Helpful, creative, constructive criticism, the 3 C's. Which actually reminds me, keep commenting. We'd love to hear your comments, both positive and constructive criticism. We love hearing all that. But last week I meant to give an update on my comedy journey. So if you can remember, a few weeks ago, I shared about how I had a show at Laughs Comedy Club here in Seattle, Washington. And that was like an audition to get past at the comedy club. Now, if you aren't in the comedy world, what that means is essentially, you get judged on your comedy, and like, if it's good enough, you get to come back and do shows, be on shows, you can sign up for stuff. If you don't get past, hopefully you can come back, you can get better after hitting the open mics, and you can audition again. So I did not get past at Laughs Comedy Club. I had a great time. All my people showed out. I'm sorry if I've done this too. I don't know if I've given the update on this, but you're listening and maybe you care, maybe you don't. But here it is either way. I got some very helpful, constructive feedback on my comedy. And I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't discouraged because it was mean. It was just so helpful. It was very helpful. But I just felt like, wow, I felt disillusioned of like how bad I was at comedy. There's that. Thanks, Zach. I'm being more mindful of it. But last week, right before I recorded last week's podcast episode, or right afterwards, I think it was actually afterwards. So I talked about Judy Carter's Comedy Jam on Instagram Live every Tuesday at noon Pacific time. I talked about it. And after the podcast, I went on and I got to go live with Judy, and I did a joke for her, a new joke that I'm working on. And she said, that was a good joke. And then she gave me a bunch of pointers to make it a better joke. But that was like the breath of courage. She breathed courage into my comedy life, essentially. I think, here's something. To level up, we need someone who can gas us up. Someone who can say, just like my audition at Laughs, it did not go well. Maybe there were funny parts, but I didn't get past, and I was able to get feedback. And I think coupled with Judy's encouragement of like, oh, this is a good joke, something I didn't do at Laughs, of course, right? And someone who can encourage us, whether you're trying to do comedy, whether you're trying to make boots, whether you're trying to get good at golf, someone who can gas you up, who can speak truth, but also encourage you. So thank you, Judy Carter, for gassing me up. So my first tip, this is actually a Mike original, but other people say it like this, but this is common knowledge. It's nothing profound, but maybe you don't have someone who is gassing you up in what you're trying to do. Someone who can say when you're doing well and when you're not doing well. Find someone to gas you up. Juice, 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 gas me up. Here's some more tips. Tip number 2, whatever you're trying to do it every day. At least for a little time every day. So every comedian who I've ever heard give a tip to an aspiring comic, a headlining comic, class clown, average bro or doe, looking to have a good time, whatever it is do it every day. So if you're aspiring to be a comedian like myself, write every day. Gary Gulman, he has these tips that he's tweeted out, I think over like a year span. I don't exactly remember, but they're gold. They're so helpful. I came across them, and Vulture actually has this article online. If you just type in like Gary Gulman comedy tips, I believe it's something like that. And they've compiled like the list of all these tweets that he's done. And they're so helpful. But one of his tips is, he says, like, set a timer for 15 to 17 minutes, I think is something like that. And don't look at your phone, just write the whole time. Don't quit writing, just keep writing. Whether it's a premise or a punchline, just keep writing. And that is something you can do for anything. You're practicing your golf swing. Just take a club, do it. I don't know anything about golf, but just do it for 15 minutes, set a timer. And that is, that daily getting better, grinding, setting time aside to something that you say you're just trying to do this. Whatever you say you're just trying to do, whether it's you're just trying to podcast, you're just trying to do comedy, do it. That 1% effort every day gradually is going to help you improve. That's a simple concept, but write every day. Do it every day, whatever you're just trying to do. And number 3, this is so helpful. This was tip number 45 from Gary Gulman. Very successful comedian. He is hilarious. Here's what he said. Don't hoard jokes. Don't worry about burning material on a special or album. Hoarding jokes may signal to your brain that you're out of ideas. There's a quote from Maya Angelou. You can't use up creativity. The more you use, the more you have. Again, it says, you can't use up creativity. The more you use, the more you have. And that's so helpful. He goes on to say, Gary's thoughts on this tip. This attitude has been crucial to an unprecedented, we love that word, streak of creativity over the last 2 years. I've written 4 hours of material, which is almost as much as I wrote in my first 23 years of comedy. Again, Gary's been doing it for a minute. If you don't know who he is, he's a real one. Most important has been my health. This idea may be second. So he's just saying, similarly to this quote from the artist Andy Mineo. I don't remember where he said it, but he said creativity is like a faucet. It's not like I think maybe he gave it like an analogy to like a bowl. It's just like, or like a cup. Like you have, this is all my creativity. So it's only got this much in it. So if I pour a little bit out, well, then I've only got so much left. He says, no, creativity is like a faucet, like a sink. You turn it on and it's just flowing. And the longer you leave it turned on, the more creativity comes out. And now your cup is overflowing. My cup overfloweth with creativity. Let it flow, baby. That's what we're trying to say. That's what Gary's saying. That's what Andy's saying. That's what Tony Heath is saying. Crank that faucet, both sides, hot and cold at the same time. Let that creativity flow. Let it flow, yo. And whatever it is, whether it's doing comedy or you're trying to figure out some tool with Excel, whatever it is, you're getting creative. You're like, I'm going to try this. 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 Keep trying. Just keep trying. Let it flow, baby. My final tips. Well, actually, my final tip is more of a complaint, but it is about tipping, which, in my opinion, is out of control. Outside of the health realities and pain of the pandemic, which is real and sad, one of the worst outcomes from the pandemic, in my opinion, is how chaotic and out of control tipping has become. We need someone, here's what I believe. Here's my tip. If you want to become president of the United States, if you want to become the next president of the United States, run a campaign as one of the major parts of your platform being that you will put regulation on tipping. Now, I'm a little bit like Ron Swanson, like with the government, maybe my Missouri's showing, but like not doing too much. But when we need the government, it's really helpful. So I'm like, step in, come on, somebody do something about this. If you want more money from me, then just charge me more money. But don't put me in a moral predicament every time I'm going to get a boba tea, get a coffee, buy a record at a record store. You're checking out at the coffee shop, the record store, the movie theater, wherever you're at, and then they're like, this is going to be $2.50. It's going to be $5.50, whatever it is. They turn it around, and then the iPad is right there. And it's like, was your service okay? Tip $1. Was your service good? Tip $2. Was your service great? Tip $3 or more. And I'm just like, this is insane. What you just did for me. I was at this coffee shop the other day, and I'm not against tipping service industry, folks. That's great. But it was crazy. Like this is just what it's got to. So you turn, order my drip coffee. So all you got to do, it's already brewed. You're turning around, you push a button, it drips, you turn it back, you set it in front of me. You maybe spent 5 calories. Took 0 steps, and now I'm like, okay, yeah, so you're spinning this iPad around, and I'm like, well, you're asking for a tip, and I know you're probably making minimum wage, or like you're looking to make some money with tips. My purchase was $5, and my options that you're suggesting I do are $1 or $2. Now, I'm not very good at math, but what is $1 out of $5? Like 20%? Again, like that's just crazy. Let's just say however that math works out, right? So 20% of that $5 coffee, like you're asking me to tip that. So you're asking me to tip you the same percentage for that 5 calories you spent for the waitress that waited on my table for. All right, this is a pretty good thing. My wife just got home, and you're probably tired of me ranting about how ridiculous tipping is. So here's what I'll say. Just do better, America. And if you want to become president, base your platform, your campaign on getting tipping under control. That's my 2 cents. All right, we're wrapping things up here, folks. Are you just trying to relax? I have a suggestion for you. Me and my wife have discovered probably one of the most underrated episodes of The Office. I believe it's called A Night Out. It is I believe it's the episode where Michael gets gum stuck in his hair by looking underneath Stanley's car. I don't want to do spoiler alerts if you haven't seen it yet, but it's hilarious. It's so good. And I'll just say one quote. I won't even quote it, actually, because I don't want to give it away. But if you like Lord of the Rings, if you like funny stuff about friend relationships. If you are lonely and sad, or if you're just looking for a good time, or you're just trying to relax, you should watch that episode. That's my last tip of the day. All right, we're almost done here. Losing steam. All right, final thoughts. You want to join the Wildlife Wednesday movement? Yes, you do, my friend. Go to your local Goodwill or thrift shop and find a $5 used wolf t-shirt, bear t-shirt, bird t-shirt, whatever it is. Or you could sit on your couch, watch that episode of The Office, and go online to our merch store and buy an Octo Bear Bat shirt, which looks just like this. An Octo Bear Bat. Where do you think rainbows come from? This shirt, $25. We got a bunch of colors, all the sizes you need, online at the merch store. Order it today while they're hot. You can also get some Just Trying to podcast merch, t-shirts, mugs, whatever you want. We got Jimmy Chuckles and the Fire Ants merch on there, our band. And for liking and subscribing to the podcast, if you comment and let me know what you loved about this podcast or what you hated and that you subscribed, I'll send you a free sticker. You don't even have to buy that off the store. For the first 5 people to do that. Thank you so much for listening, guys. We couldn't do what we do. Would you, if you ever, would you want to? All right. Thanks for listening, guys. This has been a beautiful mess. And thank you for joining me in the journey. And just remember, whatever you're trying to level up in, here are my tips. Find someone to gas you up. Do it every day. If you're a comic, write every day. Don't hoard your creativity. Let it flow like a faucet. And if you want to run for president, base your campaign on putting restrictions on tipping. Make it government regulated. Watch A Night Out on The Office and join the Wildlife Wednesday movement. Thank you so much for watching and listening. I love you. And as always, remember to stay funny and stay weird.
Great shot.